Hi guys and welcome back to Macaroon. So today's video is all about rock tumbling, which is a fairly niche hobby that I somehow came across on YouTube. I really recommend checking out the hashtag rock tumbling on TikTok or YouTube because it is one of the most satisfying things you've ever seen. So basically it's a machine that spins around all the time and then you add in raw stones, water and polishing grit, and then eventually it will polish all of these raw stones into shiny crystals. So I went ahead and ordered a rock tumbler on Amazon and I got the one from National Geographic, which actually got really good reviews.
This is designed for complete beginners, so you literally get everything you need inside. There's the rock tumbler, raw gemstones, polishing grit, a rock strainer, and some findings for making jewelry. The tumbler itself feels surprisingly sturdy and not at all like a toy. I thought this was really good value for $59 because most rock tumblers cost well over $100. The instructions are really clear and easy to follow. It's worth pointing out this part, which is to never pour the contents of your tumbler down the sink. There's an extremely viral video on TikTok where someone does this, but it's an absolute no-go because the sludge inside can easily break your pipes. So I also read a few of the negative reviews on Amazon, and one complaint was that the kit only gives you enough grit to tumble one batch of rocks. So I went ahead and ordered some extra tumbling grit as well, and as you can see, these contain so much material and they're going to last for ages. This is not made by the same company, but the packaging is labeled exactly the same way, so it's pretty foolproof. It also contains plastic pellets, which can reduce the noise of the machine. However, after doing a bit of research, not many people recommend using these because it's a big hassle having to pick the plastic pellets out of your rocks. When I was looking at the rock tumbler, Amazon recommended some raw gemstones, which I assume many people buy at the same time, so I decided to get this rainbow fluorite as well. I love the green and purple shades in here, and I'm really excited to see how it looks when everything is fully polished. To get started, just remove both lids of the tumbler using the detachable screw. These are the rocks that came with the tumbler, and I decided to replace a few of the boring looking ones with my rainbow fluorite. It's important to only fill your tumbler half or 2/3 of the way full because the rocks need some space to move around. Then I'm adding the first packet of grit, which looks a bit like iron filings. Lastly, fill the tumbler with water until it just covers the top of your rocks, then replace the lid and you're ready to go. Another important thing to consider when rock tumbling is that the machine is fairly noisy. Most people choose to put this in a spare room where you can close the door, or the basement or garage. Unfortunately, I don't have any of these, but I do have an electrical outlet on my balcony, so I decided to stick it here. The buttons indicate how many days the tumbler should run, and the recommended duration for the first level of grit is 3 to 5 days. I'm setting this to 4 days and then starting the machine. As you can see, I placed this in a corner that's fully protected from sunlight, wind and rain, and this was in September where the temperature didn't get too hot or too cold. So the tumbler ran non-stop for 4 days, and I realized that you could hear it through closed doors, but the noise wasn't that unpleasant. It actually sounds exactly like a hamster wheel and it reminds me of the times when I had Pudding and Fluffy in the other room. It's also comparable to raindrops falling onto stone, and I found it surprisingly ASMR-ish. However, it's definitely too loud to have in the same room, especially if you're sleeping. Now it's time to open up the rock tumbler, and I'm really excited about this part. As mentioned earlier, you're not supposed to rinse anything down the sink, and most places recommend washing it out with a garden hose. However, if you don't have a garden, then here's another method which I use in my office when filming. I have this big plastic box where I simply dump everything that I don't want to pour down the sink. This originally contained a big batch of failed clear slime, and I later added in the plaster that I used for clay cracking. As you can see, everything dries up after a while, so you can simply throw this into the trash. After opening up the rock tumbler, the first thing you see is this thick sludge, which is a mixture of rock powder, grit and water. This is also called rock mud, and it's similar to concrete, which is why it's so dangerous if poured into plumbing. Since this was my first time doing this, I stuck my hand inside to see if I can find the stones, but I really don't recommend it. The mud feels horrible on your skin and it's pretty hard to get off. The best option is to dump everything into the rock strainer and pour water over the top. I was amazed by this part because everything looks so muddy, and then all of a sudden you see these perfectly shiny gemstones. I genuinely didn't know what to expect, and I think this was one of the most satisfying DIYs I've ever done. I absolutely love this round green crystal at the top, which I'm pretty sure was one of the rainbow fluorite rocks. This one also turned out great, and you can see the bands of color inside. I'm really surprised that just 4 days of tumbling smoothed the edges out so well. Now simply rinse the tumbler and lid in the same way and put all the stones back inside. Then add the next packet of grit, plus enough water to cover the top. Rock tumbling has 4 stages, and each one takes a bit longer than the last. So even though it's fairly easy to set up, it's a hobby that requires quite a bit of patience. I decided to set the second stage for 7 days and placed it back into the machine. Another common question is how much electricity rock tumblers use since they're running day and night. It depends on the size of the tumbler motor and your local electricity rates, but it's not actually that much. This answer on Amazon is very useful because it's about this particular machine, and it should only cost less than $1 per week to run. Of course, this can still add up, so you might decide to shorten certain stages or stop earlier. I originally wanted to tumble my stones for the full 30 days to show you guys the best results, however I was forced to stop earlier due to something quite unexpected. So this was my tumbler after the second round, and the sludge inside looks a lot finer. I was really excited to see my favorite crystals again, but I was shocked to discover that many of them shrank in size. This included all of the rainbow fluorite rocks, and this one is literally the size of a jelly bean. The only reason I can think of is because fluorite is a fairly soft stone, and tumbling it with much harder rocks can cause the pieces to disintegrate. Gemstone hardness is measured in units called mohs, and fluorite is only about a 4 on that scale. In comparison, quartz is a 7 and the other stones are all around 6. However, these remaining ones turned out really nicely, so I'm trying to identify them using the instruction book. The first 2 look like rose quartz, and these 2 are probably agates. I think these next 3 are all jasper, which comes in a big range of colors and patterns. This bright blue one is sodalite, and the shimmery stone is tiger's eye. I think these last 2 are aventurine, which is a green version of quartz. This green stone shrank a lot less than the fluorite stone, so it's most likely a lot harder. The instructions also mention that you can use a tiny bit of mineral oil to make the stone shinier, so I'm trying this using baby oil. I really love this DIY, despite a few mistakes that led to my fluorite stones almost disappearing. I realized these small stones are actually quite good for jewelry, so I might try making that sometime. However, I still really want the big stones, so I decided to tumble the rest of these fluorite rocks on their own. If you want to see how it turned out, then please head over to my TikTok account. At the time of recording this, my rock tumbler is already polishing the fluorite stones, so you'll be able to see what they look like in just a few days. If you want to get started with rock tumbling yourself, then please check the description box where I've linked everything I used here, plus some extra tips that might be helpful. I'm Joanna, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!